Good afternoon, everybody. This is great. Thanks so much for having me here. All the talks I think so far have a lot to do with what I'm going to talk about today, but I'm going to come at things a little bit differently, more of a top-down approach, because I can't match some of the scientific prowesses that have already been presented today. My name is Rob Hamilton. I am a professor of music and media at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and Jan did a great job of pronouncing that. It's a tricky one. It's Dutch. All right.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm going to get my own timer going so I stay in sync with you guys. Great, so today I'm going to talk about virtual musical instrument design for the 21st century, since we are firmly ensconced in it. And what does that mean entirely? Well, I'm coming at this, as Stefania mentioned, from that kind of all the way to the right on one of her graphs, the composer-performer model. And looking at, in particular, game engines and game design tools and paradigms to build interactive systems, real-time systems that control sound and music in really fun ways. So this is my abstract. You all got that. So I did a quick brain dump just to kind of get some thoughts on a page. And these are kind of the basic things that we're going to discuss today. And then later in the workshop, actually, we're going to focus on the practicalities of getting an Unreal Engine 4 project up and running using open sound control and using some of the internal Unreal synths to get you up and running and able to start building projects in this way. So today I'm going to talk about more abstract artistic concepts, and later we'll actually look at the practicalities. So building instruments. What are our goals? What should these instruments be able to do? Should they be precise or free? Is virtuosity something that we're interested in? These are kind of the questions that I like to think about when I'm building a new project. Who's going to play it? Are they novices? Are they experts? How will this project evolve over time? Will it change? Is it a one-off, or is this a series of instruments that I envision lasting for decades? Not something that we think about a lot in electronic music these days. What can these instruments do? Are they free? Are they good for jazz? Can they play Western art music traditions? Are they sound-based? What's the concept of what do I think this will be good for? How are we going to play these things? Are we going to use computer keyboards? Are we going to use physical gesture and motion that we've kind of all inherited from traditional musical paradigms? How is this going to work? How accurate can we be with these instruments? Can they be temporally precise? Can they be pinpoint frequencies whenever we want? Or is it a little bit more of a fluid situation? Can these instruments scale from quiet sounds to large sounds, to one user to thousands of users? And what's the legacy of this system moving forward in time? So just some ideas that I threw out here to kind of get people thinking. For some really well thought out ideas about this, you can look at one of Stefania's papers. She's much more eloquent with it, I think. So I do a lot of work with virtual reality and game engines. When I'm looking at these paradigms, I like to think about, this is kind of where we're going and where we are these days. Virtual reality, augmented realities, spatial audio, whether it's in large-scale wave-field speaker arrays like this one here at MPAC at Rensselaer, or whether it's spatial audio based in earbuds. And this incorporates so many different things. Real-time control, network interactions, gamified interactions, right? These are all parts of concepts that we need to think about when we're designing. And so we could build an instrument that uses real-time control in virtual reality. We are employing cross-modal mappings and is designed for ensemble performance. Sure, sounds great. We could also build a solo instrument for one person with an individual sound field using spatial audio. It's designed around an instrumental abstraction, the concepts of an instrument, but made perhaps easier or simpler for users to control via a different interface. And in this case, we're going to gamify that, whatever that means these days. So just to put things in perspective, I come at all of this through games. I'm a musician. I am still an avid gamer. I play a lot of Overwatch. So game engines always excited me because they were these fluid, dynamic systems where characters are interacting with other characters in real time. carrying out intricate motions and gestures, fast, sound. Everything was immersive, really wonderfully created systems. So when I look at these kind of experiences and these kind of paradigms and these kind of concepts, a lot of it's through that lens of gaming. Come in. So I'm going to talk through just a few different examples to start off with, musical examples. I'm not going to, again, since sound's going to be interesting here, try to do this quickly. So a piece like this piece is called Alone and Easy. This is a piece I wrote, where in this case, I'm just trying to lay out some of these control paradigms on the left. Perhaps we could consider this an abstracted control system. These are just players using keyboards through a networked interface. The sound is spatialized using ambisonics around an 8-channel speaker array. It's meant for real-time interactions built on Raspberry Pis and using Chuck. See if that comes through. So a very tactile but non-traditional control system. Moving into virtualized environments, here's a piece called Echo Improvisations using Unreal Development Kit, actually. This is from 2010, maybe, 2011. So in this case, a virtual instrument being played alongside traditional instruments, and the virtual instrument itself is a metaphor. It's in a sonified elephant trunk. And if that's not coming through, the elephant itself is controlling a super collider script being controlled itself by a gamepad, Xbox controllers. Looking into one of our dear colleagues in the room today, the concept of hybrid lutherie. It's a really interesting concept in kind of using physical interactions combined with virtual interactions to create really amazing systems. This is the Blade Axe by Romain Michon. So this idea of solo performance, it's a real-time system, a shared listening experience in kind of a traditional concert paradigm. And in some ways, an instrumental abstraction, again, kind of taking this concept of a plucked string model and controlling it using a kind of a very different paradigm. Very awesome. Moving into VR. VR opens up so many spaces to play in, literally. This is a piece called Caroline, in which it's a collaborative musical environment built in Unreal Engine 4 using lead motion controllers to track hands, and gestures in the game engine actually control different, the motion of objects in the game engine, which they themselves are sonified using pure data and Chuck. And these are all used with the Oculus Rift. This was the DK2, that was pretty brutal. A piece like that is interesting because it was designed to be collaborative and as a group networked VR project, and yet the same kind of piece can be translated into a solo performance, again using gesture taken out of virtual reality, and so the performativeness of the system still exists, but in this case in a solo context, without virtual reality. Piece like that is super fun to play. Moving into the kind of the last sections of my talk, I'm going to focus on this one project in particular, which is I've been working on for the last few years. After building a series of fairly abstract instruments, kind of technology systems that they themselves don't necessarily directly relate to a traditional instrument paradigm, I wanted to see what it would be like to build a virtual instrument that was like a traditional instrument, that inherited from traditions of physical lutherie and performance practice, and could leverage tacit knowledge of trained performers, so that a player of a virtual instrument who learned on a traditional instrument would be better than someone who hadn't. That knowledge could transfer. So this is a piece called PAW de la Grassement, apologies for my French, for Quartet, which is a virtual reality networked string quartet. We'll see much more of that as we go on. So the same engine can be used for solo performance, as we see in this piece here, using plucked string models. Whoops, sorry about that. And in this case, even the same engine driving transducers on physical gongs. So this use of gesture and control is very important in a system like this. So just to dive into it a little bit. Quartet was built in Unreal Engine 4 using pure data as the audio engine in real time, bridged with open sound control. So it's a series of virtual instruments, all of them bowed in VR. And as you already saw, designed to be played by multiple performers. This was done in conjunction with the IEM in Graz, Austria. It's part of their GAP initiative for gamified performance practice. So the concept was take a traditional string instrument and model it in VR, both performatively and sonically. Make this all in a networked space using the synthesis toolkit for the physical string models, similarly to what Stefania was mentioning with the physical modeling. And so each of the instruments themselves is modeled in 3D, and they're all discrete components. So these are all procedurally connected at runtime and rescaled to form a family of instruments that all share characteristics but are somewhat different. As you can see, all the components there are then connected in Unreal via code. And so using this bizarre control system, right, these Oculus Rift controllers, performers are actually using a virtual bow, contacting it with a virtual instrument, in this case what's called the bowing bar. It makes it kind of one simple, easy place to control. And so there's this concept of virtual space and controlling an instrument, but at the same time, it's tricky because there is no physical connection, right? There's no pressure, bow pressure. So modeling that concept of bow pressure becomes part of the artistic challenge. How do we change the modality and use a different parameter to substitute for that actual physical connection that we have with a traditional instrument? In this case, I'm using open sound control. It's a data protocol, which many of you are familiar with, to pass data from Unreal Engine. In this case, to the synthesis toolkit running within pure data. Now, this was the initial model, and this all works quite well. And it uses for a series of concerts and performances. It's all great. Well, the last thing I want to talk about with this piece is that this piece was deterministic to a certain extent. There is a graphic score that performers learn. It's not just free improvisation. So this concept of traditional kind of notation paradigms, albeit graphic notations, or traditional 21st century, late 20th century, but still very much kind of in the art music traditions. You know, this idea of translating the physical into the virtual and the tradition into the present is very much real in this project. So, moving into the latest stages of this project, this is just at the end here. I got super excited, and I'm incredibly excited about what Ethan was showing today. And so my version of that before I jump into Unreal 5 was I actually rebuilt my entire audio engine in Faust and stuck it on an Android phone, which works really well, incredibly well, super excited. And actually, I was going to bring up the headset and demo it, but there's just no way that would work time-wise. So this is the only video I have. Apologies, I did not dress for the occasion, as you can see. It's my son holding the phone. It's like proof of life. So that's Faust to Unity Android running on the phone, taking OSC data wirelessly from the Quest 2, which surprisingly did not induce crazy latencies, which is what I was assuming. Didn't. It's pretty good. So it's a really exciting kind of direction to be able to take this and move away from this paradigm of laptop connected to system, instead move to something like this is a portable network server, right? These great little devices. And then even complement that with moving to Unreal 5 and using Ethan's new approach with MetaSound, which is super exciting. And I think that's all I got. So in the workshop today, we're going to talk about how to just bootstrap up your first projects in Unreal Engine 4 using Open Sound Control to connect to your favorite audio programming environment, be it Faust, be it Super Collider, be it Chuck or Pure Data. And if you want to find any more about me, any of these videos, they're all on robhamilton.io, which just takes me to my homepage. Oh, and just for anyone doing the workshop later, if you go to this link, I put a package of data there you guys can grab. Right here. So this is my website right here at the top, GRAME workshop files, and then I'll take you to here. You can download a demo Unreal project, which is what we're going to work through this afternoon. And there's a PD patch there too. That's it. Thank you.